Torah portion on this Shabbat is called Tazria from the book of Leviticus. And it talks about, in one section, what the penalty, the divine punishment is for the gossiper who is then removed from the camp because he or she has contracted some form of skin disease, which is known in Hebrew as tzara'at, and is best translated into English as tzara'at. Because we don't know what it really is. Like an annoying word that's hard to translate. But whatever this skin disease was, caused the individual to become impure and to be forced to be removed from the camp. When that individual is outside of the camp, then he or she has nobody to talk to, but has time to reflect on the sin of gossiping. Now, there's some other sins that could cause you to contract sarat, but one of the major ones that the Torah indicates is lashon hara, gossip, the evil tongue. It's not necessarily, though, a punishment to be thrown out of the camp for a short period of time, because when you are outside of the camp, you are given an opportunity to find your voice, to know who you want to be and what you want to stand for. This year, we honor as our Talmud Torah recipient someone who comes in the spirit of Dr. Lenore Kipper, for whom we've named this award, who has inspired all of us in our congregation to continue to strive for learning from the wisdom of Torah and to live lives of Torah. Our recipient this year is usually right when he offers advice, but sometimes wrong when he's talking about himself. This year's winner, John Kislak, told me that after he found out that he won this award, he thought that the committee that chose him had made a mistake. I also thought so. I think that every year I should be the one to win the award. But since I thought when I came to this shul, they had a Talmud Torah award, and I had a good chance of winning it every year. And been here 4 years, I haven't won it yet. But I'm holding out hope. But John, for many reasons, is an inspired choice. And you know this is one of the most democratic awards because it's chosen only by past winners who have a great interest in making sure that the winner is truly deserving. One of the reasons perhaps John thinks that he doesn't deserve to win this award is because though he's tremendously dedicated to the study of Torah, the rest of the class doesn't generally hear what's on his mind unless they come right up to my podium immediately after the class, when I always find out what's on his mind. The thing that I love most about John, besides his judgment, he has the most incredible judgment. He was the vice chair of my search committee. What I most love about John, that was funny. All right. So, what I most love about John is that there are very few people who care more that we use the wisdom of the Torah to effect change for the better in our lives. Many times he has said to me, as you teach, as you preach, as you are inspired by the words of Torah, what change do you hope to effect in the behavior of your congregation? This is the ideal for what we want a modern Jew in our world to be able to understand. And so, imbued with that spirit, and as someone who comes not only with love and reverence for Torah and for the Jewish people, but with a tremendous amount of respect for this bima and for this congregation, it is a great honor now to invite to our bima the 5779 recipient of the Dr. Lenore Kipper Talmud Torah Study Award, John Kislak.
All right, it's Shabbat. Deep breath, take it easy. All my work is done. You now have to be a responsive and responsible audience. As the rabbi told you, when I had been chosen, I looked at the former list of recipients. Tonight I see Lenore Kipper, for whom this award is named. I look at Joe Jacoby back there, who's going to talk in a few minutes. Hi, Joe. Who was not the last winner, but the one before that. I look at the folks who come Saturday mornings to Torah study. I look at all of you here, and I wonder, what were you guys thinking? There's far more Torah that I don't know than what I do know. I don't even know how much I don't know, but I do know it's a lot. And if you really want to learn Torah, you should join me tomorrow at 9 o'clock at Rabbi Barris's Torah class. That'll be $10. Or one of the nearly 40 adult learning events that we have on campus during the month. As you can tell from the program, I'm a product of Beth Am. It's the only synagogue I have known for most of my life. Thank you, Rabbi Baumgard, for your inspiration and for your vision. That plus 60 years of hard work, and here we are. And wasn't it nice to see 3 more generations of Rabbi Baumgard's family here last Shabbat? So, if you like what you hear tonight, thank the people who came before, who created this place. If you don't like what you hear, it's my fault. Talk to me. Now, Parashat Tazria, at least the parts that the rabbi didn't talk about. It's one of the shortest portions in the Torah. It's usually paired with Metzora, but this year is a leap year, so they got split up. Our triennial reading is only 17 verses. This year's verses are the instructions to the Kohen, to a priest of the temple, regarding the diagnosis of sarat. I'm going to try and translate it. Lesions, blemishes of the skin. It's often translated leprosy. It isn't leprosy. And whether they are contaminated or pure. If contaminated, the individual is declared tameh, impure, and is quarantined outside of the camp for a week. The Kohen's action is not a medical procedure. It is not a quarantine for public health reasons. As I said, it's not leprosy the way we understand it in modern times. And Maimonides says that sarat are not from the natural realm. They come from God. Some Torah portions are written for architects, some for contractors. This one is for dermatologists, or maybe for psychologists who believe that skin eruptions are caused by the stress from having sinned. As the rabbi said, our tradition usually associates sarat with lashon hora, derogatory speech. We are all susceptible. Even Moses and Miriam got sarat. There are many excellent writings. I don't have anything to add. That's not what I'm going to talk about tonight. Look it up online. And in case you're wondering, we're against it. When I asked Rabbi Barris what I should talk about, he said, about 13 minutes. I've already used a lot of that time, so I better get started. Political scientists report that 1 in 6 Americans have stopped talking to family members or close friends because of the 2016 election. 1 in 6 Americans have excluded a friend or a family member. America is more divided than at any time since the Civil War. Even here, I see the disintegration of respect. We refuse to listen to each other. We don't tolerate differences of opinion. Relationships have a coarseness about them. We exclude those with whom we disagree. This is dangerous. Here's a list who've been banished from different communities. Pick and choose. gays and lesbians, Trump supporters, Jews who are too Jewish or not Jewish enough, some Christians, most Muslims, all foreigners, godless baby killers who perform abortions, warmongering Netanyahu supporters, Peace Now advocates, anti-Semitic BDS supporters, deplorables, socialists, capitalists, Tea Partiers. Whew. I could keep going. We are in a time of identity politics and intersectionality. What you are defines you. And yes, I know what intersectionality means. So, I am an old, white, straight, rich, Jewish male. You thought I was talking about Bernie Sanders, didn't you? Him too, but we have different politics. Because of that, a large number of people think that I am disqualified from voicing an opinion just because of who I am. That my opinion has no legitimacy because I can't possibly understand anything else or anybody else or any other experience. So what causes this rupture in our community? And what does Tazria teach us about it? And how can we draw back from the precipice? I want to suggest two causes that psychologists and social scientists have identified to explain what's happening. One is confirmation bias, and the other I'm going to say slowly because it's a tongue twister, motivation, attribution, asymmetry. That's better in a journal than it is talking. Confirmation bias has long been recognized. It happens when you become so confused, so convinced of your position that you can't see anything else. Here's the definition. We search for, interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms our own beliefs or hypotheses while giving disproportionately less consideration to alternative possibilities. That is, we pay attention to the information that supports our pre-existing conclusions and give no consideration to any other ideas. We take note of news and opinions that reinforce what we already believe to be true. We ignore anything to the contrary. We all have opinions. We pick our news, fake and otherwise, to reinforce what we already know to be true. The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, MSNBC and CNN, Fox, Huffington Post, Breitbart. You take your pick. We forward to each other the latest internet articles to support our belief, and it becomes an ever-expanding echo chamber. The cacophony overwhelms us and forces out every other idea. Everyone we talk to knows the truth. We pick our friends that agree with us. We don't talk to former friends who don't agree with us. Anyone who might have other opinions has been excluded from our lives. One might say, we have declared them impure. We've put them in isolation outside of our camp just because they don't agree with us. Hold on to that for just a minute as we talk about motive attribution asymmetry. This is newer, and I think it's much worse. It was introduced in a 2014 article in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The authors used the phrase to suggest a situation, here we go, another definition, where adversaries attribute their in-group's actions to in-group love and attribute their out-group actions to out-group hate. My beliefs, the in-group, are motivated by love. Your beliefs, the out-group, are motivated by hate. You don't even have good intentions. My motivations are righteous and pure. Yours are evil and wicked. I am good, and you are bad. If you think the author's conclusions are based on surveys of Palestinians and Israelis, you're right. If you think their conclusions are based on surveys of Democrats and Republicans, you're right too. In fact, there are 5 different opinion studies that underlie this article. So where does that leave us? I am right, so you must be wrong. And you are arriving at your pig-headed, wrong conclusion because you are acting out of hate. Not only are you wrong, you are morally corrupt. I have nothing but contempt for your opinion and for you. If you don't agree with me, you don't belong here. Go away. So who gets to decide who is impure? What are the grounds for excluding someone from our community? Fortunately, always comes along. Torah has the answer for us, and in this week's portion, only the Kohen can make that decision. According to the Mishnah, everyone is valid for examining negayim, the blemishes, the sarat, except that the impurity and the purity of the examined person is in the hands of a priest. There's a lot of discussion among the rabbis about this. Experts can make observations, there can be advice, but only the priest can make the proclamation. This week's portion makes it clear only a Kohen can quarantine someone from the community. So let's review. God causes a lesion, a blemish, a sarat. The Kohen inspects it and declares it impure. Only then is the individual excluded from the camp, and it's only temporary. It takes God to send the sarat and a Kohen to interpret it based on the instructions in Tazria. Doesn't matter what your personal beliefs are. Doesn't matter what my personal beliefs are. For that matter, it doesn't matter what the Kohen's personal beliefs are. Read the portion. The instructions are painfully detailed and explicit. There isn't really much choice. There are no temple priests today. You and I don't have the authority to make the proclamation of impurity and exclusion. This is serious stuff. Bad things happen when we exclude people based on their opinion. Communities die. We are taught that the destruction of the Second Temple was caused because of hatred among the Jews. Talmud also teaches that Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students died because they did not treat each other with respect. Does any of this sound familiar today? If those two great institutions couldn't survive, what chance do we have? So tonight's award is a statement that Temple Beth Am is a community that values learning. So let's recall how Jews learn. They learn in pairs. They learn in groups. Torah scholars do not study alone. You remember confirmation bias, cutting yourself off from any view that's inconsistent with your own? That doesn't work. There is always somebody to study with. And that's because Jews value someone else's input. We respect someone else's input. We require someone else's input. Torah study is flawed without it. So all this is interesting, or maybe it's not interesting, but not useful if you don't put it to use. This is what the rabbi said. So consider, have you shut yourself off from alternative viewpoints? Do you vilify and dehumanize people with different views? I'll hate, we all do some of that. Only when we walk back from the strident atmosphere today can we grow and can we thrive. Only then can we properly study Torah. Only then can we create a community of learning that we all desire. In the spirit of Rabbi Greengrass, who always leaves us something to talk about and to think about, what will you do this week to re-examine your openness to other opinions? What will you do this week to tone down the stridency of rhetoric in our community? May God bless you, and may God bless our community.